Hello, everyone. My name is Protoss Jr., and welcome to, well, I guess this is the non Pain Party. Pain Party. Now, today, for those of you who actually do follow me understand that I'm a big motorsport fan and I'm a big advocate for bringing new people into the sport, having some fun, and really trying to share what my love for motorsport actually is. Um, and today I'm scrolling through old Twitter slash X slash sus like cesspool, and I found a retweet from Radio Le Mans talking about Liberty Media being taken to court by Andretti, well, being investigated by the Department of Justice in regards to not letting them into the F1, and at this point there's no real information as to why the F1 rejected Andretti, other than them stating they didn't believe that they would be competitive in the medium term. Now, the medium term for F1 is generally within 5 to 10 years. That's the medium term. Um, which is interesting if you think about it that way, because most teams that have come into Formula One and failed died in the short term. So if we look at like the Force Indias, we look at the Marussias, we look at the Caterhams, those teams, Marussia being the team that I supported back when they were around, back when they were Virgin Racing, brought in under the cost capping measures of 2010, I think it was. I could be wrong, and I'm open to being wrong, but anyway, I've come here today to go over that press release that Autosport have put up. Now, I think it's definitely worth reading, and then afterwards, I'm going to give you my thoughts on it as well. I think, well, I wouldn't be able to commentate on this if I wasn't giving my own opinion and prepared to take the L for it. So I'm happy to do that. Flame me if you think I'm a piece of shit. Go for it. It's fine. Like, I'm me. This is what I do. So why not? I am doing this completely off the cuff, as you can tell. So, oh well, such is life. Now, if you're wondering why my eye level is so weird, I had my OBS on my other monitor, which is why I was looking over here, because, we're insanely vanity-driven human beings. So the first thing I do is look at myself when I'm talking. So I figured, well, why don't I just bring my display over to the center of the screen so it at least appears as though I'm looking at the camera and I'm not just being like an asshole. But the reality is I'm vain, so I'm looking at myself. Um, anyway, this is going to be a one cut, so you're going to see a lot of fucking issues with the way I read and shit like that. But, such is life. Let's get into it. Okay. All right, so here we are. There's my OBS. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, so F1 owner Liberty Media is facing an antitrust probe over Andretti's rejection. The United States Department of Justice is officially looking into Formula One owner Liberty Media's rejection of Andretti Global. Now, everyone who has been looking at the Formula One over the last 10 years knows that Andretti has been trying to get into the sport for quite some time. This has been an ongoing thing that we've all been succumbed to, and it was all a part of that push to have more of a American presence within the F1. Now, we need to point out that America's presence in F1 is massive for the commercial aspect of the business. Right? The F1 absolutely need the market in the USA to be vibrant, to bring in more sponsors, to bring in more fans at the track, to bring in more eyes to the TV stations. That is going to increase the value of F1 exponentially. So this in its own way, to give you some context, has been going on for quite some time. Okay, Liberty Media has announced that it is facing an investigation by the US Department of Justice over rejecting Andretti Global's Formula One bid. The CEO, Greg Maffei, confirmed in a quarterly earnings call that the company that owns Formula One is officially being probed by the Department of Justice Antitrust Division over the legality of F1 refusing entry to Michael Andretti's team. Now, we actually haven't had really any information come out in regards to this. I've been following it for a while. First time I made a video on it, but I've been following it for a bit. And other than the point that is brought up in this article later on, we haven't really been giving any information. We have, however, seen a lot of crybaby, particularly from Michael Andretti, and that's fine. We get that. because it's expected. He wants his team to be in F1. So if I'm being rejected without giving a formal reason, I'm going to be pissed off. Um, Partnering General Motors brand Cadillac, Andretti has long been pushing for an F1 entry as the 11th team, setting up a Silverstone base and is going on a widespread recruiting spree, which includes former F1 man Pat Symonds. And while the FIA accepted Andretti Global's bid on a technical level, F1 itself has kept the door shut on the American powerhouse because it doesn't feel Andretti could become competitive in the medium term, and therefore wouldn't provide enough commercial value to the series. If F1 teams have also been reluctant to accept Andretti because they would have to share the prize pool with an additional entrant. Now, this is something that I'm gonna speak on. Okay, so this is a really weird circumstance. Andretti have gone through all of the trouble to recruit people that were originally in F1. They set up a base in Silverstone. Now, keep in mind, right, in the UK, there are 4 teams operating from the UK in the Formula One. Andretti wanted to make it 5, but they've been rejected. Now, the contentious part for me is that they saw the technical stuff that was coming. Now, they decided that they were going to improve the technical side. They were happy with the fact they were going to set up a base. They were happy with the recruitment process. They were happy with everything that they were going to bring to the table. And then said, hang on a second. You don't bring money to the table. You don't bring enough eyes to the table. Now, Andretti is one of the largest motorsport companies in the world. They are synonymous within the USA. They have won almost everything they can get their hands on. They have been the biggest competitor to Penske for the longest period of time. There is no, from what I can observe, and I could be absolutely wrong here, right? And I'm open to admitting that I could be absolutely wrong. But from what I can tell, the motorsport fan base within the USA is split down the middle between Penske and Andretti. And Penske obviously don't have any say in Formula One. They're not a part of it in any shape, way, or form. But they do have Haas in Formula One, who arguably brought next to nothing into the Formula One. In fact, they bought the infrastructure from someone else, whereas Andretti were willing to build their own infrastructure. So I find that fascinating. But what we're forgetting is that an iconic American name like that is going to bring mass amounts of eyes and mass amounts of sponsorships. Now, the FIA seems to be, well, Liberty Media, not so much the FIA, seem to be missing this point. And I'll go through more of my thought process in a moment. Let's just finish this article. Maffei said Liberty Media would cooperate with the Department of Justice and was confident the F1 hasn't breached any US regulations. Now, for anyone wondering why US regulations would be in effect here when it comes to the F1 and Liberty Media, we need to remember that Liberty Media are an American-based company, so they absolutely are going to be subject to American law. For those of you who weren't necessarily aware of where Liberty are and who they are. Andretti, looking at Andretti, as you saw this morning, we announced that there is a Department of Justice investigation, Maffei told Wall Street business analysts on Thursday. We intend to fully cooperate with that investigation, including any related requests for information. We believe our determination, F1's determination, was in compliance with all applicable US antitrust laws, and we've detailed the rationale for our decision vis-a-vis Andretti in prior statements. Maffei reiterated that F1 and Liberty Media aren't ruling out accepting an expansion team if it ticks all of the boxes. We are certainly not against the idea that any expansion is wrong, he said. There is a methodology for expansion that requires approval from the FIA and the F1, and both groups have to find the criteria met. We we're certainly open to new entrants making applications and potentially being approved if those requirements are met. In May, the chairman of the chairman of the United States House Judiciary Committee opened a probe into Liberty Media's denial in Andretti's F1 entry in an escalation of political interest. It happened just days after team patriarch Mario Andretti, I said Marco Andretti earlier, didn't I? Fuck, I'm stupid. It's Mario Andretti, appeared on Capitol Hill, which led to Republican Jim Jordan writing to F1's owners demanding explanations for the decision-making process that has blocked Andretti's hopes. Now, I have not read the DOJ's statement on any of this, and I think it would be wrong of me to make any speculation on that without me actually going through it. And this video today is, it's going to be more of me just checking, or just like sharing my initial thoughts on this before I do go into a deep dive. And I'm going to go through a deep dive. I'll probably start filming. I'll probably go through that tonight, and we'll go through all that information. But if we look at it from the face value of this article, and this article alone, right, this has two distinct feelings for it. One, the F1 and Liberty Media. Well, Liberty Media are passing the buck in this particular regard, right? So they have effectively said the FIA and the F1 have to agree for any additional team to come through, and they have to make sure, and they have to decide that all of the prerequisites are met. Now, the question is, why? Who, apart of those two groups, said no? Now, the group for me would be the F1 teams. The F1 teams have been notorious for rejecting other teams coming in forever. And the reason for that is we when I first started watching Formula One, which would have been about 2004, there were 24 cars on the grid. We had 2 additional teams, and which was amazing, which meant that you had a series of teams that were outside of the points all of the time, which meant that the competitiveness to get those teams up into a point-making position was so much more fierce than what it is now. You have one team, effectively, that doesn't get points a race. 1 or 2 teams. That's it. Whereas in the past, you could have had 4 or 5 not making it, which was entertaining for me. I can't really talk for you as an individual, but definitely for me. So we've got the F1 side that have said that and have declined. And then the other side, we have Mario Andretti coming out and being and effectively being what I would call a massive crybaby, right? He is a man who has had the entire motorsport world bend over for him to make sure that he's allowed to do whatever he wants because he has the finances to do it. And I'm not against that. I think if you have the finances to do something, you should be able to compete to do it. I think that's fine. I have no objection with that. But he is a really big fish that is not used to being told no. So Mario goes to a senator and dobs on him. He basically goes to Daddy and goes, "Dad, they said no to me." So Dad's written a very sternly written letter, to demand answers. That's fine. You can absolutely do that. But right now, because I have to go to work, you saw me check my clock before, so I'm not going to be able to do a deep dive at this very moment, but I wanted to get this out there for now. This is a very interesting case, and I'm so keen to see where this goes. My views on this are going to be obviously my own. They are my views, and I'm not always going to be a winner. There's going to be people that hate what I've said today. That's fine. Bring the hate. Argue with me in the chat. I want to read it. Bring it, right? Let's have the conversation. Let's discuss why we think that Liberty Media are in the wrong, why we think Andretti isn't a big baby. Come to me. Let's have the talk. I'm not against having a conversation, okay? So feel free, jump in the comments, tell me what you think about all of this, and I will actually go through and do a deeper dive into what all these cases are and pull them apart for you. That will be in the next couple of days. So, because I have the next couple of days off stream. I woke up too late to stream today, but that's a different story. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you spending the time with me. Thank you for listening to my rambles, and I shall catch you later.